Well, church, good morning to you this morning. I am privileged to be in this pulpit, and thank you so much for the invitation. I do recall the first time I was in this pulpit. We weren't singing "Gonna Trust in the Lord." But after my sermon, I stood outside and I shook hands. After everyone had passed through, I came back in to retrieve my manuscript. And I met a gentleman, I think, right over there, somewhere over there. And he said, "Oh, I can tell you don't preach at a black church." I said, "Well, how come?" He said, "Because your sermon is short." But church, I came prepared today. Whoa! Yeah. Of course, now, when that was then, I had a little bit more eyesight. So now I can barely read what I have. It's about 12 words on each page, you know. But I'm going to try to make it on through here because I'm going to trust in the Lord. I'm going to trust in the Lord. I'm going to trust in the Lord till I die. Y'all gonna make me act up here. I want to tell you about why the sermon is titled Responsibility. Now, frankly, church, I don't like sermon titles. And I was joined in my dislike of sermon titles when I read a commentary by the editor of the Christian Century, James Buchanan. That's no relation to Pat, by the way. And James Buchanan said when he was pastoring a church in Columbus, Ohio, it was a church situated on a very large thoroughfare, similar to our Peoria out here. And he said, you know who's going to read the sermon title outside? They driving by at 40 miles an hour. They're not going to see that. And if they do try to read the sermon title and have a wreck, he said, I'll just be caught up in all kind of dismay if I caused the wreck. And he said, I just don't like it. But then he realized that the administrative staff has to get the programs together, and the musicians have to find the music that goes with something. And so he agreed to do it. He said he used to do them like months ahead of time. You know, he would get it all out there, and then when the time would come to preach, he couldn't fit the sermon to the sermon title, you know. It had just long gone. So, but still, he did it. He did it. So every Friday, he would give his secretary the sermon title. She'd give it to the sexton, who would go out and put the title up on the wayward pulpit out there, you know. So one particular Friday, he needed to get away. And he said, okay, let me just scribble this. And he said, I'll give it to you later, and gave it to the secretary, and he went away. And when he came back, he saw on the billboard in capital letters, I'll give it to you later. So, that's what can happen. And so when the call came in, Reverend Davis, what is your theme or your sermon title? And wanting to be quick and snappy, I said responsibility. Our responsibility. Now that'll fit just about anything, won't it? Our responsibility, our ability to respond, church. And on this momentous Sunday, the Sunday before the birthday observed of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., and the inauguration Yes, you know who, the one they call Barack Obama. I just thought responsibility, because we need to be reminded of what Dr. King was really talking about. Church, 40-some years after his death, 41 to be exact, coming up in April, we now laud the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, but some of us were around back in the day, and he was not popular. Now, now they say that white folks have made him clawless, and black folks have made him flawless. That's because he's a national hero, and we have found the little differences we had can be submerged under the theme of we are overcoming. So I'm here to tell you this morning, church, that we need to be reminded of why the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was not popular. So I'm going to bring you something to that, and let me begin with a true story. Not that you would expect anything other than the truth. Okay? But I do want you to know this happened to me. Now, I did represent with the Laura Desta Shelter because during my Monday through Fridays, I am the county director for the DHS office on North Peoria. And in that position, I hear a lot of things, but this happened before I became the county director of North Peoria. So don't think this happened up there. It didn't happen up there that I'm about to tell you. But anyway, this young lady was coming upon the eve of the Martin Luther King weekend this particular year. The clock was moving toward 5 o'clock, and she exclaimed in a glorious moment, "Thank God for Martin Luther King." Now, I could not pass this moment by. So I jumped in there and said, "Be sure and work for justice and peace." She looked at me with that look. Y'all know that look? That's the look that says, "What?" And so, feeling that it was no response, just a look, which was a response, I felt like I had to say something because I had jumped in there. I felt like an intruder. I had insinuated myself into her private domain, and I had said something that I didn't, So I said, okay,